FPL managers, we are finally back for another season, and I've already gone and made my team within the first half an hour of the app releasing, so let's get right into it. The first thing we've got to look at real quick before the team is the fixture difficulty. Now, I ranked the FDR here on the screen. Some people may agree, some people may disagree. The main thing I've seen different to my list is that Man City are placed a little lower than second best, but I think their fixture run is incredibly underrated. I think playing home to Tottenham and playing home to Man United are both green fixtures, and that's coming from a Man United fan, so I'm not being biased at all here. I don't think United or Spurs can be considered a grey fixture, a slightly difficult fixture, until they prove me otherwise. Some other good fixture runs here, we're looking at Aston Villa, we're looking at Forest, Everton's first 3 games are pretty good as well. I also like Sunderland's fixtures, but then again, you'd be picking a Sunderland player if you wanted to pick someone with that fixture run, so you've got to weigh up the pros and cons there. And as much as I love assets from Man United, Newcastle and Arsenal, their fixture runs aren't so good, so we won't see, as many of their plays in the team. Anyway, enough of my rambling. Pause the video here if you want to look at a detailed fixture difficulty rating chart. Without further ado, let's get into my first draft of the FPL 25-26 season. No doubt my first draft of about 60,000 still to go. In goal, I've gone pretty simple. On the bench, we've got a 4 million goalkeeper. I picked the one from West Ham because Areola has a habit of getting benched for the second backup goalkeeper, so maybe Fotheringham can go in and start for West Ham, but that's probably not going to happen. He's just a random 4 million throwaway keeper. For my actual goalkeeper, I've got Petrovic from Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth do play away to Liverpool, but after that, their fixture run gets pretty good. And you never really want to pick a goalkeeper based on their fixtures. You want to pick a goalkeeper that's set and forget. You never really want to be making goalkeeper transfers. And before prices came out, Pickford was set a straight lock in my team. I was going to get absolutely no one else. He was my keeper. Then they revealed him to be 5.5 million. So I am 100% staying away from him. I do believe you shouldn't really be spending 5.5 million on a keeper because there's always someone cheaper that outscores the premium keepers. You just got to get it right. In the defense, we've sort of gone big at the back. On the bench, we have nothing, just 2 4 million players. I got Aiden Haven down there. As a Man United fan, I've got to throw him in. As for the actual team, we got Gvardiol. Gvardiol versus Aït-Nouri is going to be a debate. It's going to be a tough one. We'll definitely do some player comparisons in the preseason to, decide who really is the best one to go for. But in terms of reliability and someone, who's going to be starting week in, week out, it's got to be Gvardiol. Aït-Nouri right now for me is just way too much of a rotation risk. The next 2 defenders, I was really hoping they did not cost 5.5 million. But with the new defensive contributions, I'm not really surprised. Both these players, insane threat from corners, definitely have a few goals in them. And they were both really high scorers on the defensive contributions chart last season. If you don't know what that is, they weren't in the game last season, but FPL did a little graph on the app to show which defenders and centre defensive midfielders got the most theoretical points for defensive contributions last season. Milenkovic and Tarkowski were topping those charts. I can imagine players from teams that don't have much possession will be usually staying near the top of those numbers. So Forest, a great example, they won a game 7-0 with less than 50% possession. So you can pretty much guarantee your Forest players, if you wanted a CDM, you could look at Anderson, centre-backs, Murillo and Milenkovic. Those guys are going to be getting defensive contribution points more often than not. But in most cases, you'd see players in tougher games actually getting these defensive contribution points. In midfield, we have the first premium in Cole Palmer, which is a bit of a dodgy one if I'm being honest. He didn't end the season that well. But when you look back on last season, there wasn't a single premium priced player who actually ended the season well. All I can tell you is I watched the Club World Cup final and I was very happy with what I saw from Cole Palmer. The Chelsea fixture run isn't amazing, but it's definitely better than average. It's a good run to begin the season with, and Palmer is looking like a player I want to keep for the foreseeable future. I don't think I'm going to be swapping him out for any other premiums. I know a lot of you guys are seeing this right now and you see there's no Salah, and you probably disagree with that. Salah is going to be the most popular player to go for. There's no doubt in my mind. He should be. He just broke the record last season. Me personally, I'm against it, okay? Liverpool bought a new striker and a new number 10, and I think these signings in general aren't really going to help Salah. I don't think they're going to make him a lot worse, but Liverpool haven't played with an proper number 9 in years, not since they appointed Jurgen Klopp. So when they finally get one in the team, Salah may not be the main character anymore. Don't get me wrong, I think he is still going to be the highest scorer for Liverpool, but I don't think his point tally is going to be near the level it was on last season. I do think the Liverpool attack still has so many points in it, but it's going to be more spread out among players like Wirtz, Diaz and Ekitike instead of just all on Salah. Another factor I don't want to go with Salah is the Man City fixture run, so you can probably already guess who I'm picking instead of him as my second premium. But as for the rest of the midfielders in this team, we've got our first Aston Villa player, and I believe Aston Villa from game week 1 to 6 have the best fixture run. And I know the first 2 game weeks, home to Newcastle and away to Brentford, aren't amazing, but they're not awful either. Morgan Rogers at 7 million, I would say is fairly priced. He could have been priced at 6.5 and that would still be fair. The reason Rogers is so good is because he is not a rotation risk. Whether Aston Villa play in Europe or not, you can guarantee he's going to be starting pretty much every single game and playing nearly the full 90 every single time. And if you did play last season, it's quite simple when you own Morgan Rogers. Just don't put him on your bench. As long as you keep him in your starting 11, you can't bench a double-digit haul from him. I know many of you learned from that mistake last season. You can all see Adingra here in a Brighton kit. FPL haven't updated the pictures yet. Adingra is actually playing for Sunderland right now. And I know I gave it all this, when we looked at the fixture run saying you can't really pick a Sunderland player because Sunderland suck. But at the end of the day, he's cheap. He enables me to afford the expensive players. And the Sunderland fixture run is really good. I would say Adingra is Premier League proven. But let's be honest, he didn't really do that well last season. I was really tempted to go for Mayenda from Sunderland instead, go for the striker, but there's 3 forwards I simply could not pass up. So I've gone for the next best thing in Adingra, who's probably going to be playing not even as a winger. I think Sunderland might play a front 2, which makes Adingra less appealing. But at the same time, you could make a case for him being the best player on the team without a doubt, because everyone else is a bit mid, if we're being honest. No disrespect to Sunderland, but Adingra is probably on a bit of a higher level than everyone else in that team. I was heavily debating Anderson, who I mentioned earlier from Forest, purely because he's going to get high defensive contribution points. He doesn't get overly too many yellow cards, and he did get 8 goal involvements last season, but I just still can't imagine picking a CDM, so I've passed it up for now. But that is a debate I'm going through in my head. do I pick Adingra, maybe a cheap winger, or do I go for a CDM who's going to get defensive contribution points and the goal involvement? Let me know what you guys think down below, because this is a tough debate for me. And we are taking advantage of that Man City fixture run again, splashing the cash on these Man City players, going with Marmoush, who I don't think is going to be too much of a rotation risk. He seemed pretty nailed on towards the end of last season, but if we go through pre-season and it turns out, going into game week 1, he may be at risk of being an early sub or not starting every game, I could change him to Foden maybe, or just ignore the Man City assets as a whole if they're looking way too risky. So there's still a lot to be decided here in the midfield especially. It's definitely the most undecided position in my team. Defence, goalkeepers and forwards I'm pretty happy with, but midfield, there's still a lot up for debate. As for the front 3, we all saw this coming. We have Haaland in the team at 14 million. Is he worth it? I'm not 100% sure, but can he be worth it? The answer is definitely yes, because we all saw how Haaland started last season. We all know how good he can be. It's just more of a question as to how good will he be. And I think he's going to start the season off strong. I think that last season from Man City was a bit of a glitch in the matrix. And let's be real with ourselves, guys. Haaland had a bad season and scored 22 goals in the Prem. So if that's a bad season, imagine what a good season is going to be. We are once again taking advantage of the Aston Villa fixture run with Ollie Watkins. I don't like the first 2 game weeks especially, but Ollie Watkins is a great player. He's a big game player. He can score against anyone. And I think he's fairly priced at 9 million. Don't think he's too cheap. Don't think he's too expensive. I just hope he's still staying on penalties. That's no guarantee at Aston Villa because Watkins ain't a great penalty taker. But then again, you normally do have your main goal scorer, your talisman on penalties. And he was taking them last season. Then finally, we got your boy, João Pedro. Now, João Pedro is also in a Brighton kit. But guys, I'm sure you all know this already. He plays for Chelsea. He does not play for Brighton anymore. João Pedro may be a rotation risk, but I don't think he will be, because out of the 4 attacking positions, left wing, right wing, striker, cam, he can play all 4 of them. You can't say the same for Liam Delap or Pedro Neto. or Gittins, whatever their new signings are. I think João Pedro could be fairly nailed in this team. He may be an early sub at times, but I don't think starting most games is going to be an issue. If it does become an issue and I get a little wary of it, then Solanke comes in at the exact same price, who is definitely not a rotation risk and is playing home to Burnley in game week 1. So we've got a backup plan there, no doubt, but I did watch the Club World Cup final, guys, and it has infected my decision-making process because João Pedro was tearing up PSG's defence. So imagine what's going to happen when he's playing against a West Ham defence or a Burnley defence, you know? There's going to be no issues for him. Let me know what you guys think of this team down below. Definitely a lot's going to change. There's no doubt in my mind. This is what I right now believe is the best, but there's going to be ironed out decisions to make, like the rotation risks. They may have to go. There may be some new restructuring done, you know, maybe go cheaper in the defence. Who knows? Just let me know what you think, and yeah, make sure you're subscribing, make sure you're liking the video, and I will see you all in the next one.